What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to talk a little bit about the Sword and Shield era, but I want to start with more interesting news. The first being the apparent Stellar Crown Pokemon Center ETB restock or reprint on the Pokemon Center. I actually couldn't confirm this. I don't pay attention to the Pokemon Center restocks at all anymore, but I've seen multiple people talk about it, so I'm going to operate under the assumption it is true. It's something that happened. And in my eyes, this seems like such a weird thing to get a reprint. So I'm hoping that this is just a restock on Pokemon's behalf, or they're planning to roll out maybe more Pokemon Center ETBs from some other sets over the holidays, and that this is just one of the first ones. If this is something that Pokemon was prioritizing as a reprint, that just seems way off, right? That seems like not a high priority. So I'm hoping that it is one of those two scenarios where they just found more stock somewhere, or they're planning to roll out some more Pokemon Center ETBs of other sets in the future. But you can see here on TCG Player, we haven't really responded to the news yet. I think these are shipping, these are shipping to the United States. So some sales 150, 165. Yesterday, there were a couple sales as low as 125, 135. That just seems like a coincidence since it did happen today. But I expect to see these boxes come down a little bit in the short term if there are a lot hitting the market. And we'll keep an eye on the Noctowl Pokemon Center promo as well. It doesn't seem like today we've seen any response to that news. But the bigger news thing today is Ascended Heroes has been unveiled. This is going to be our specialty set coming out January 30th. I think there's a high potential that this is one of, if not the best sets that Pokemon releases in 2026. Now I say one of because I do have hopes for there potentially being a Rayquaza set, and hopefully the 30th anniversary specialty set is also going to be a banger. But I think when we look at what this is, it's a specialty set. First off, the promo card is going to be Nzekrom. That's a very good promo card for the ETB. The PCTB version, it's probably going to be very expensive. I don't know if it'll be more expensive than something like the Snorlax or the Charmander, but I do think it's going to be up there. When I look at the box art too, this is kind of a side note, I'm not a huge fan of the colors and the design. I'm not a huge fan of Mega Dragonite having wings on their head. I just think it looks a little bit ridiculous. I know some people disagree with me about that, but whatever. I mean, I don't really think the box art plays a super large role in what the ETB is going to do. I think that the set in general is going to have some very strong cards. We actually just got this Psyduck illustration announced. It's a beautiful artwork. And we already know that there's going to be some bangers in here. We're going to have the Gengar SIR. We're also going to have this Marnie card. I believe the Charizard Y gold card is rumored to be in there. We're probably going to have some of these attack cards in there. So it is lining up to be a fairly deep set. There's going to be at least 50 secret rares in Mega Dream. So hopefully in our English set Ascended Heroes, we will have a lot of those as well. But with it being a specialty set with a strong promo, I think the obvious plays are, of course, trying to get Pokemon Center ETBs on pre-order, and then also buying a sealed case of ETBs eventually, right? If you want to get it out the gate at a decent price, or you want to wait until a potential reprint comes, that's ultimately, I think, going to be one of the better items, just because I do like the promo card a lot. Booster bundles as well. There's going to be other products that I'm sure are fine, but I'm super bullish on this. You guys let me know in the comments down below what you think about Ascended Heroes. Now, also talking about Sword and Shield era a little bit because it is Wednesday. I do want to briefly go over what's happening with the booster boxes, and then we'll look at the ratios like we did over the past couple days. But 4 sets were actually up this week in terms of market price, surprisingly, on TCG Player. Sword and Shield base being one of them, up to $572. If you come in here and look at recent sales, $620, $630. Most recent sale was on the 13th of November. Rebel Clash were up to $442. Darkness Ablaze, $335. And then finally, Vivid Voltage, something interesting going on here, up to $254, almost $255 currently. But we did kind of have a mini buyout yesterday. It seems we're down to around 248, popped up to around 257. Now we're coming back down. But I think there was like 12 boxes that sold in that day period on TCG Player, which isn't a ton, but you can see sales up to around $300. I have no idea what's going on here. To me, this makes like absolutely no sense why anyone would do this, but it did happen. There are some sales. If you find that interesting, awesome. Now, moving into the alternate art sets, all of these were down over the past week. And Battle Styles, there's a lot of supply out there. We're down to around 266. I think you can find buy it now listings on eBay, maybe like 210, 215. chilling. You can find listings as low as like 425, 435, I think currently. So that's getting close to $400. I do want to point out in the middle of the summer, this box was around $420 USD. So keep an eye to see if this box goes any lower than that. I can't imagine it will go much lower than that unless we have major problems in the global market, something crazy goes on. Evolving Skies, still a ton of this out there as well. Still moving decently though, I'd say in like the 2.1, 2.2K range. Definitely not all-time highs in terms of sales volume, amount of boxes moving, but a decent amount are getting churned through. Fusion, same sort of situation. Brilliant Stars, I do want to point this out again. The box is down to around $417, but recent sales, you're actually at like 480, 490. If you look at eBay, I think the lowest listed you can find in English, I know there's like a German listing up there, but in English, the lowest listed box I'm pretty sure is 480, and there's only like a case or so below $520-ish, I believe, on the platform. So Brilliant Stars has actually held fairly well around 500 bucks. It's doing probably the best out of any of the other alternate art sets. I think Silver Tempest also gives it a run for its money in terms of like how well it's performing in this correction. This box, if we're going off a peak where it was around $500, probably done a bit worse, but I think you can find listings, maybe one at 420, 430 in that range. There's not a ton of boxes though before we get back to like 470, 480 on Silver Tempest currently. Astral Radiance too, we're jumping around a little bit here. This box is not super exciting. Only like 3 or 4. A handful of these sell. Buy it now every single week. It's not great. There's increase in supply as well on Astral compared to last week. And same deal with Lost Origin. More supply than last week. I think you can find listings, one box at 660 and then maybe a couple more in like the 630, 640 range. And then once those 3 listings go, you're getting closer to like 680, 690 and then getting back into the 700. So that's really all I want to talk about in the Sword and Shield era booster boxes. I do want to show you guys the data though, comparing the loose pack price on TCG Player to the price per pack in a booster box, doing the ratios. If you remember, over the past couple days, 0.75 to 0.85, I'd say is in a normal range. When you get to a little bit older of sets, if that gets somewhere between like maybe 0.65 to 0.75, that still might be fairly normal. When we look at the Sword and Shield era, there really isn't a ton in a normal range. We have Brilliant Stars currently, and I put an asterisk next to this because this is based on $417 booster box price. But if we took a $490 price, which is more realistic, I'd say, it's at 0.63, which is actually a little bit low. Astral, we're at 0.75. Darkness, you're at 0.81. These should actually be in green. These aren't normal. The Sword and Shield base and Rebel, we're at 0.48, 0.58. When we look at Vivid though, this is actually over 1. So the loose packs on TCG Player are going for more on average than what a loose pack in a booster box would go for if you divide by 36. So normally when this happens, it's an indicator that the booster box is underpriced. I don't necessarily think that's what's going on right now. We are entering a correction. So I think the numbers are going to be a little bit wonky. But Battle Styles too, I mean, this is at 0.89. So maybe you could make the argument that both of these are a little bit undervalued. Maybe they should be closer to like $280, $300 per booster box, and then maybe the numbers make a little bit more sense, especially if you look at Darkness sitting at the 0.81 ratio. I don't know, it's tough to say, but when I look at these numbers currently, it would seem normally in a normal market that loose packs are undervalued. But I think in this market with the correction going on with the sealed products, I think you could also make the argument that we're just going to see some of these booster box prices come down over the next couple months. And I think these numbers are off too. Like Lost Origin, you're still at $710, almost $711. Realistically, this is probably closer to like $660, $670 at this point. Evolving Skies as well. TCG Player price is still $25.50 approximately, but this is selling mainly in like the $2,200-ish range. Fusion, we're down probably closer to like $850 at this point. And that would definitely boost these numbers a little bit. But that's all I really want to talk about in this video. I am curious to hear what you guys think about Ascended Rivals. I really do think it's going to be a decent set. I mean, the specialty sets in general have just been absolute bangers over the past like 2 years, most of them outside of like Shrouded Fable. I think investors will probably have to approach Ascended Heroes a little bit differently than something like Prismatic or in the past Paldean Fates 151. We're getting to a point now where it seems like there is more supply on the market, more is going through Costco and Sam's Club. So buying ETBs out the gate at an inflated price may not end up being the best short-term decision, but I guess time will tell. If you guys got some value out of this content, I'd really appreciate if you leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. It does help out a ton getting these videos pushed out to more people. Also, if you are shopping eBay, TCG Player, Hobbiesville, I do have affiliate links down below. They're free and easy to use. All you have to do is click on the link before you do your shopping. I'll get a small percentage of the sale at no extra cost to you, so it's a free and easy way to support the channel. But with all that said, thank you guys so much for watching the video. Stay safe wherever you are in the world, and I'll catch you in the next one.